One day, around 2 in the morning, a black SUV car stopped in front of an old cabin in the woods. The cabin was literally in the middle of a forest in an extremely rural area. The cabin was rusty, and the place was all frightening. The wind was howling, full moon was in the cloudy sky. Suddenly the car door opened, and a man got off from the car with one of the prettiest girls you could ever see. They walked slowly towards the cabin. The man opened the cabin door with utmost confidence and entered without hesitating for a moment. The girl asked him in fear, "Is this the cabin?" He said with a gentle smile, "Yes, come on, let's get inside." She was a little bit hesitated by now, but quickly settled her thoughts and entered. He locked the door before her and quietly asked her, "Do you know what they say here about Halloween night? That it's the scariest night in the whole year?" "No, I didn't know," she said in surprise. He curiously asked her, "Do you know why they even say that about Halloween night?" She answered, "No." He smiled and said, "I'll tell you. Roughly 20 years ago, this cabin was left empty and broken in every possible way. Just like how it is now, sometimes the hunters would stay the night at this cabin. But the weird thing that in one Halloween night they found a dead body of a young girl. Here, in this cabin, she was murdered. The crime was very cruel and brutal. They say that the killer had pierced her eyes, so they stay wide open. In order to make his face the last thing she see, he hung her from her neck with a hook in the ceiling like a deer. He opened up her belly, took her stomach out. That belly hole reached the edge of her neck. Most of the organs were on the ground. This ground we're standing on. Her blood was poured into the ground of the cabin. It was terrifying. All of this happened while she was still alive. Her death was slow and painful." The girl screamed at him, "Enough. Why are you telling me this?" He said with amazement, "You're the one who asked me, didn't you?" Anyways, the case remained unsolved, and the murderer was never found. They say that during every Halloween night of every year at the same time, if we paid attention, we would hear the screams of pain of that poor girl. Then suddenly she shouted at him, "You invented this story all to scare me, right?" He quickly answered, "No, this is the truth." She sadly replied, "Are you happy? I mean, I'm terrified." He smiled a strange smile as he said, "I swear to you that this is the real story. I wonder how you have not heard about this story. I thought that it was going viral at some point, and everyone knows it by now." She fearfully said, "No, I have not heard this story before. I am afraid. Can we leave now?" He replied, "Leave. This is the most important night of the year, and you know we both love creepy stuff. That's why we came here in the first place." She replied, "If I had known this story before coming here, I would never agree to come. I want to leave and just walk from here now, please." He said to her, "No, we will be sitting here for a while. I want to hear her screaming." She said angrily, "And I don't want. My whole body is shivering, and I can't handle it anymore." He said sarcastically, "The keys of the car are with me, and I'm actually thinking of locking you in here and just leave by myself. I would like you to spend the night here alone." She felt fear. She was about to cry while she was saying, "No, please, never do that to me." She tried to open the cabin door, but the ball came out in her hand. She gasped in fear as Laura came back, before she said, shivering with fear, "You are joking. I want to get out of here immediately." He was watching, smiling. She ran towards the door of the cabin again, tried to open it, slammed on the door, terrified, until she realized something. He was silent for the past whole 10 minutes, the scary type of silence. She turned herself around in eagerness and fear. He was there, standing in the darkness, watching her and smiling. He said sarcastically, "What? Are you afraid?" His right hand was behind his back. He began to slowly getting it out, and in his hand, there was an old rusty hook. She screamed in fear. "What is happening?" "I adore Halloween night," he replied while enjoying her fear. "Unfortunately, it is only one night a year." She began to beg him in fear, "Stop, and just let her leave." But he could not hear her. He continued his words, and his eyes glittered with intense enthusiasm. "For 20 years I have been here. Girls have changed, But I didn't. All of them are like you. Stupid and never pay attention to small details between the lines. But that doesn't matter, as I always succeed in bringing them here. She fell to her knees, begging in horror. He smiled and said, "In sake of the legend, I have to keep people away from the cabin. They must hear your voice while you scream." He raised his hook up and said, "I'm sorry, but your death is the only way that will let the legend continue." With her loud screaming, everyone heard it, and for another year, on Halloween night, people heard the voice of the girl screaming from the cabin, and the legend continued. Hey guys, thanks for listening. That was the legend of the Halloween cabin. Nobody knows exactly where it's located, but few guys on social media have said they actually heard screaming from the land picket forest of California during Halloween. Hope you enjoyed the story, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. Till next time.